Hello and welcome to episode 128 of the Player 3 podcast. I'm your host Luke Croft, and alongside me we have the always visually stunning Larry Hines.
Hi.
How are you doing, my friend?
I am terrible.
So Larry gets to my house about 25 minutes before right now, about 25 minutes ago. He just tells me that his life sucks. So, why is that, my friend?
It all started with a tweet. Somebody tweeted about discovering the healthy amount of caffeine is 4 cups of coffee a day. And I went and checked into this, and it's true. It's recommended that you don't drink more than 4 cups a day. Well, I start my day with 3 to 4 cups of coffee. And then at lunch, I'll have a couple more cups. And then if I have an afternoon meeting, I'll have a couple cups. If I've got an evening meeting, I'll have a couple cups. If there's church at night, I'll have a couple cups. So I'm drinking, 6 to 12 cups of coffee a day.
Right.
And I was like, perhaps I should cut back. And so I cut back pretty dramatically. I'm trying to just limit myself to 2 cups a day. And
if 4 is healthy, why not 4?
Well,
why the arbitrary 2?
Well, I want to leave by evening time, it's probably going to be 4 regularly. I've not been really limiting myself to 2. But in the morning, it's like I'll start with 2 and instead of 4. So that later on I can enjoy more coffee. And, for me, it was never about the caffeine. I just genuinely love coffee. And so I've just been drinking it for the enjoyment of it. But just because you enjoy the thing doesn't mean you can't become addicted to the thing.
Yeah, what you haven't realized is that inadvertently you have become dependent upon coffee consumption.
I'm tired. I had a headache. And on top of that, I've also been making some dietary changes, and I'm hungry. So
all kinds of grumpy.
Yeah. I just want to curl up in a ball and sleep for a week.
Word. Well, we've got a great show ahead today. Tons of news to cover. We had the Game Awards last week. We had PSX last week. We had a publisher making sweeping delays to their games in the news as well. So a lot to get to. But first, I would like to point out, we've done 128 episodes, and nobody ever asked me how I'm doing, Larry.
Oh.
So, let's move on to we are the Player 3 Podcast. We get together every Monday over here on twitch.tv/Player 3 Podcast. Push it out to you on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, youtube.com/Player 3 Podcast. Subscribe, like, leave a comment, review, all that sort of stuff.
And we'll read it on the show.
Yeah, in an accent. Whatever accent you choose, Larry will do. It'll all probably sound like the same accent.
Yeah.
But, all right, let's get the show started like we get every show started with, what have you been playing or consuming?
Consuming.
Yeah.
Less coffee, but right now I'm consuming coffee. So about, I don't know, a little ways into this show, I'm really going to kick into gear. It's going to be great. But aside from that, on my way over, I thought about the things I've been consuming, so I'd be prepared for this discussion, but I was not there mentally.
And you've forgotten all of them.
Yes. I listened to the new No Sleep on the way over.
Okay.
It was pretty good. It was all right.
Yeah, it was all right.
Still working my way through Parks and Rec. It's been progressively funnier as it goes on. I do love Ron Swanson. Funny guy.
I just don't, I don't like Aziz Ansari. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Fight me.
No, I agree.
Everybody loves Aziz. I'm not a bit, I don't like him in Parks and Rec. I've watched a couple episodes of Masters of None. I don't think he's that funny in that. I've watched some of his stand-up, and I don't think he's funny in that either. I just don't think Aziz Ansari is funny.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah.
Nothing against the guy, but I'm allowed to like what I like and not like what I don't like.
It's fine.
So,
it's totally fine.
You're so out of it, dude.
I know.
It's weird.
It was something I really wanted to bring up in this segment, but it's just gone, man. It's just gone. You tell me what you're consuming, and
okay.
you don't come back.
All right, so let's see. Going back and rewatching The Office.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That game we played.
Fortnite.
Yes!
Yeah.
Fortnite. I suck at it so bad, but I had so much fun with it. It's a really great concept.
The Battle Royale mode,
for the
record.
Battle Royale. Fortnite Battle Royale. The first game, I did work. You and Andrew died real early on, and I single-handedly fought my way to second place. And for the rest of the night, we died almost immediately every game.
Yeah. I don't know what it was. Last night I wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah.
But it may not be... I don't know. I don't know if I wasn't feeling it because I just wasn't really in the mood to play last night, or if I wasn't feeling it because I didn't really like it as a game. It feels jagged. Like,
It's pretty rough.
And that's like my big thing. Like everyone's excited about PUBG, but every time I watch PUBG, it just looks janky and hard to play. And after playing games like Destiny and Call of Duty and Halo that run so smooth, playing a game like Fortnite where, okay, it's impressive, there's 100 people on this map or whatever, but like at what cost?
Yeah.
And like we were watching I was watching you in spectator mode, and I don't know if it was this way for you too, but like the sniping looked almost impossible.
Yeah, like there were several shots I was like, how was that not a hit?
And for me it looks like you were shooting like 20 seconds too late, like tremendously too late. So I don't know.
Which is funny because the first few shots I put the crosshair dead on the person, and I was like, well, maybe this is a game where you got to lead them. So I was shooting ahead of their run, but then from your perspective, I was shooting after they ran through.
Yeah, that's what it looked like at least. So if it ran like any of those games I listed before, I think it'd be something I'd be more into. But I've gotten a little spoiled, and it's hard to go back.
I agree with that, and because for me it not running smoothly does kind of detract from the combat aspect of it. Great concept, but when the combat is so like finicky, you wind up running into a lot of those frustrating situations where you feel like you should have had that, you know?
Yeah. I'd also like to point out, Saltiest Chuck's in the chat and says that he too does not like Aziz Ansari because he plays the same character in everything, and that character is himself.
Yeah. And frankly, he's annoying.
Yeah. So, but okay, so anything else?
I don't think so yet. I'll interrupt you again later.
All right, sounds great. So I've been going back and watching The Office, and I think that's just going to become my winter tradition. They have the best holiday episodes, whether it's Halloween episodes or Christmas episodes. They're fantastic.
I agree.
Been playing a little bit of Assassin's Creed, and what I played so far I enjoy, but it doesn't feel any different. Like I'm like, why'd they take 2 years off of this thing? I understand like there's a little franchise fatigue or whatever, but it doesn't feel like they took 2 years to like make revolutionary changes. The map's huge, the game's pretty, but you expect that with any future iteration of a game, it's bigger and better. But and I also, you know, when you get to those points in life, Larry, where you're like, I've been denying it far too long, I'm just going to come out and admit it. Today, I admit, I'm just not an Assassin's Creed guy.
Oh, yeah.
I want to be, but I'm just not. Let's see. Outside of that, nothing really. They just put the new season of Broadchurch, season 3 of Broadchurch on Netflix. I'm excited to get into that, but haven't yet. I've seen like 4 scenes of this show called The Crown on Netflix that my wife binge-watched all over the weekend. Outside of that, it's been Fortnite and The Office.
I'm actually with you on Assassin's Creed. Like, the concept of that game, I love the story, I love all that, but I think it rests too much on repetition. Mm-hmm. And I know you don't have to do everything, but even if you choose not to do everything, you have to do the same things again and again enough that it's a grind in a game that doesn't really need to have a grind.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a shorter game where you just focus more on a story than make me, all right, climb all these towers so you know what the city looks like. Here's the same informant quest over and over again. Beat this dude up. Like, go find these flags in the time limit. I don't know.
And the little bit I've played, the acting's been kind of bad. Like the voice acting.
Yeah.
And Assassin's Creed, I don't think it's really ever had super strong performances, but this doesn't even measure up to some of the better ones, in my opinion. Okay. So, yes.
One more thing I consumed. I did finally jump back in Overwatch to try out that new character, Moira.
Okay.
And I had a blast with her in training mode. Real excited to use her in a game. But I played several games and I can never snag her before someone else does. She's apparently very popular.
Oh, so she's a healer, right?
Yeah.
Is she one of those healers, though, that like, is it like a Zenyatta where...
She's very similar to Zenyatta, actually.
Oh, okay. So most people are playing her to deal damage.
Well, they kind of are, but the healing aspect of her is still fun enough that they're not neglecting it. So it's pretty good. And Ana, she got a buff recently. They're buffing Doomfist. They're making a lot of good decisions. I'm excited to jump back into that game. When I do, are you interested at all, or you want me to just leave you out?
No, I'm
good. Okay.
No, I think I've lived my life with that game, and I think I am now done living my life with that game.
Fair
So,
enough.
all right, let's move on, Larry, to the releases of the week.
Releases of the week.
All right, releasing on Xbox One this week, PUBG, making its console debut in early access mode, or well, not preview program. Is it preview program? What do they call it on Xbox?
Yeah, I think it's preview.
Yeah.
program.
Okay. So in the preview program, PUBG is going to be launching.
Hold on. So you can only play this game if you're a preview program person?
No.
Okay, I'm confused.
Okay, so that's what I thought. Preview program is the thing where you get the updates early.
Yeah.
They have like an early access thing, and I think it's got a special name too.
Okay.
But I don't game preview maybe something like that. But you don't have to be a member of anything special.
Okay.
This will be coming out. It's $30 to play the early access or whatever, and then you have full access to the game when it launches its 1.0 version, which it will be doing on PC on December 20th.
Okay, so we're finally getting there. That's nice.
So my question to you, Larry, is how big of a deal do you think this is for Xbox?
To be getting the game?
Yeah.
I guess I was just kind of assuming it would make the jump eventually. Mm-hmm. But I will say I am surprised that it made the jump before it came out fully on the before they dubbed it completed on the PC. So yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a pretty big deal. Is the PlayStation getting it too?
No. So
Oh, okay.
Not for a long time.
So that is a huge deal then.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, again, caffeine addiction, withdrawal, I can't think.
So Xbox has basically, I was reading today, financially and resource-wise has treated this like it is a first-party property. So this will definitely stay under the umbrella of Xbox One console exclusive for at least the foreseeable future. I imagine someday it may come to PlayStation, but if you want to play this game, don't hold your breath for it on PlayStation. Just go ahead and get it on Xbox.
I think that's a great move on their part, because we've been saying for a long time that's what Xbox lacks is exclusive games. So that's really cool. And I'm excited to try this out now that I've played Fortnite Battle Royale, because it's a similar concept, right? Mm-hmm. It's implemented differently, I'm sure. You don't have the building and stuff in PUBG.
Yeah, there's no building in PUBG.
Just killing.
Just killing and looting, and the shrinking map is all the same, all that.
Okay.
Yeah, you parachute in the same way. Fortnite borrowed very heavily from PUBG.
I just burped, excuse me. But I'm very excited to try that. Now that I've tried Fortnite, because I didn't get what all the fuss was about. Now that I've played that sort of game mode, I'm like, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I want to see. I'm excited to see how this company works it out. But I'm also still torn on do I want to give you $30 for an incomplete game? But since they're on the verge of completion, I'm much more willing to do that. On PC.
On PC, and I think that is a whole different animal. Because basically they said, we didn't know anything about developing for consoles until Xbox came along. I mean, I think they're on the record as saying that. So, I would be patient. I mean, it's one of those, if this is a game you know you're going to want eventually, go ahead and pay the $30 for it, because if you don't, you'll pay $60 when it's the 1.0 version, because that's the way it works. But $30 is going to give you forever access now. They also are launching a new map on PC right now. PC only has one map. Xbox will only have the one map. The desert map, I believe, is coming alongside the 1.0 version on PC, but I think it'll come at a much later date on the Xbox as well. So this will be a desert map.
Ooh.
I don't know a whole lot about PUBG. I've watched a few streams here and there, and I know the premise and concept, and I think I have a good feel for it after playing Fortnite, and I think I may. Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think I may be more interested in PUBG just because I think the art style for Fortnite, while I find it very visually interesting, I don't find it as engaging to play in that style of the game.
Okay.
Because it feels so much like a 7 Days to Die or something like that, Yeah. And part of what makes those games great is it kind of feels a little realistic.
Yeah. Fortnite did not feel.
Yeah, Fortnite lacks that.
Okay. Well, I'll be watching a lot of videos of people playing this game. Then I'll make my decision. I remembered what I was really wanting to bring up earlier and what have you been consuming.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because it's really important.
Okay.
You know what happens this week?
What?
It's Star Wars week, man.
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars time. I'm so excited. I've watched all the trailers this go around.
Have you?
I didn't protect myself from anything. I'm fully engaged. I'm convinced that it's all misleading, and even if you've seen it all, you don't actually know what's going to happen anyway. I can't wait.
Yeah, I think they heard that criticism loud and clear.
Yeah.
So, I'm with you.
But I wanted to plug a YouTube channel I've been watching. If you're really into Star Wars and speculating and breaking down things, there's a YouTube channel called Wayward Jedi. And this dude is like all into Joseph Campbell, the guy who wrote all about the hero's journey and myths and how those are spread throughout civilization. And he's just been breaking down all the Star Wars stuff in view of all of that. And he's got some interesting predictions for the movie. So go gorge yourself on those before it comes out.
All right.
And now we return you to your regularly scheduled releases of the week. Clap, clap.
All right. Also releasing this week on PS4 and Xbox One, we have Resident Evil 7 Biohazard Gold Edition. This is
It's a lot of words.
It's just a complete edition of the game with all the DLC. So, and then releasing on Switch, we have a 3D platformer Yooka-Laylee coming. So, which have already launched on PS4 and Xbox One.
A lot of words made me remember the Titanfall 2 multiplayer technical it was like 1,000 words to describe what was happening.
Oh, Milky513 is now watching the stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. Those are your releases of the week, Larry.
Clap, clap.
All right. Let's move on to topics. Yeah, we've got some topics for you. All right, Larry.
What?
I'm going to let you kick us off if you don't mind.
All right.
I'm pulling this article up for you.
Okay, so my topic has to do with Destiny 2. So the Curse of Osiris DLC came out. And that's great. I haven't pulled up on my phone, so you don't have to scroll for me, but you can try to keep up. And so I've gotten some mixed reviews on this from friends. I haven't actually looked at critical reviews on it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been interesting. My friends who aren't like super hardcore Destiny players were kind of disappointed by the DLC. But a friend of mine who is like way deep into Destiny, he was actually pretty satisfied with it. He felt like it was worth the $30 price point. Just from what I've seen, I'm still leaning toward it's not, and I'm going to wait till it gets cheaper before I jump into it. But that's not necessarily what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was a lot of people are upset because they feel that, some of the activities that you could previously engage in, you can no longer engage in unless you've purchased the DLC. And so they feel that a game that they paid money for has been reduced for them. They've had things taken away from them, and a lot of up in arms about bait and switch kind of stuff happening. And from this article from Polygon, written by Samit Sarkar.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to start a little ways into this. In-game content in Destiny focuses on raids and nightfall strikes, as well as the more challenging prestige versions of those activities. Curse of Osiris raises a soft cap for Destiny 2 power levels to 330 from 300, which is the limit in vanilla Destiny 2. The recommended power level for the
That's not true, is it? I thought 305 was.
Yeah. Inaccurate.
Inaccurate, Samit Sakar.
The recommended power level for the game's toughest and most rewarding activities has also risen accordingly. The weekly Nightfall Strikes power level is now 270 instead of 240, while Leviathan's level has gone up to 290 from 280. Both are still available to everyone, but the prestige variants of both activities require players to be at the power cap, and it's now impossible to reach that cap unless you buy Curse of Osiris.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Well,
I'm going to let you finish.
Thanks, Kanye. And there's a little bit more of the same. There are some Crucible things that you can't access unless you have the DLC because they're new maps in those playlists. And one of the things that's most upsetting is you lose access to the Strikes playlist, Heroic Strikes playlist, because some of the new strikes might be rotated in. And that's the only point where I'm actually on the same page with people who are upset. I feel like they should have one for people that, like, losing the Heroic Strikes playlist, I think is a big deal.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, this is, in my mind, this is kind of par for the course for these kinds of games.
Yeah.
The new DLC is going to raise the power gap. That's always how it's going to happen. And the prestige stuff is always going to be the highest power level. So I can kind of see both sides of it, but all these cries of I paid for this and now I'm not getting it. I don't think I'm actually on the same page with these people. And I really love to bash Destiny.
Yeah, well, and we love to be on the side of consumers for most of this, but I think it is one of those things. It's like they didn't launch the game and then just turn around and be like, oh yeah, we're also going to launch a DLC. And it's not like we didn't have 3 whole years of Destiny 1 to realize that this is what was going to happen. And this isn't even nearly as egregious as some of the things that they did with Vanilla Destiny. If you remember in Vanilla Destiny when they launched, I believe it was the very first one, which was House of Wolves. I always get this wrong. The Dark Below?
Yeah.
Yeah. When they released that, they had a new strike that would sometimes get rotated into the Nightfall. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't have the DLC expansion, you couldn't do the Nightfall strike for that week. And
that's the case this go around as well.
Oh, is it? Okay.
But again,
that's the nature of these games. I do think there is some sort of discussion to be had about the fact that like this game's only been out 6 weeks on PC.
Yeah,
you know
that is a big deal.
I mean we've had the game now since early September, and we all reached a point where there really wasn't even a whole lot else to do. So what's it matter? But I do kind of get PC players being like, we've only had the game 6 weeks, and now we already have to shell out another $30 to play this expansion or whatever.
I will agree there. The PC players have grounds to be mad. I don't think the console players so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we just got to a place where we had done everything like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
And so it took us a while to get to that point. If you're not like binging the game, it does take some time.
Where the game does get, where all these decisions get a little shady, and I don't know if he mentions this in this Polygon article, is that they were running a 50% off sale for the holidays in retail, with retailers and online. And you have to imagine a lot of parents purchase this game for their kids because it is one of the only shooters like that that's just rated T and not M, you know? And it's Destiny. Like, it's a huge franchise. There's a lot of parents who bought this game and probably are unaware or uneducated about exactly what needs to be had in order to experience the game in full.
I was trying to think about why this game is T instead of M. I guess it's because there's no blood. But, like, the souls exploding out of bodies is less upsetting to us. It's weird, the rating system.
Well, and there's also not a lot of language. Is there any language at all, really?
I think they're...
They may say hell or something like that, but I don't think outside of that there's really anything. So,
and the people are the most clothed out of any game in recent years, I feel
exactly.
like.
Yeah. So,
sorry.
But my point just being, like, they were trying to drive sales of this game, and I believe you are going to have a lot of people who get this game Christmas Day who don't have the entire package thinking that they will. But for the people who are like engaged in the Destiny community who lived 3 years with the first game, like, why would you have expected anything different? This is the way that and it's not just Destiny. Like, any MMO you play, this is the way that it's going to be. Mm-hmm. So, and the whole, like, well, you can't do these things unless you have the thing because of the level cap or whatever. It's like, that's literally every single MMO ever.
Yeah.
Every WoW expansion comes with a level cap. You got to be able to get to that level cap to do certain activities and events, even if they were included in the earlier. Like, that's any game you play in this genre. So just get used to it.
Yep.
And there have been people, like, calling for, oh, well, Destiny needs to price it differently then. Look, if you were that into it, you got $60 worth of a game out of the base game.
I agree with that.
It had a great story. The PvP is solid. The raid was good. You know, a lot of you poured a lot of time into that. You got your money's worth for that $60. I don't think it needs to be one of those. Well, if they're going to just turn around in 6 weeks and give us this, they need to charge $40 for it. It's like, give me a break, man. Because if you're that engaged and you're interested in the expansion, it means you've done everything in the base game.
Yeah.
And you've reached the level cap.
Yeah. Now, I'm not convinced that the expansion gives me $30 worth of content from what I've seen, but I could be swayed on that. I need to look at it a little more. It's at least not egregiously underselling itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on, Larry.
All right.
To my topic. My topic's a big one. Because I want to talk about the Game Awards. I want to talk about the 2017 Game Awards, and I want to talk about the idea of the Game Awards moving forward. But first, let me get to a little matter at hand called the milkshake bet.
Oh, yeah. I told you I was going to destroy you.
Determine the results of it. Larry, we both did excellent. So if you'll hand me this book, I can walk you through here.
Right.
So we're not going to really discuss these. I'm just going to go through very quickly and who won. So game of the let's start from the bottom. Most anticipated game was The Last of Us Part 2. Point for you. Best multiplayer, PUBG. Point for me. Best RPG, Persona 5. We both suck. Best action adventure, Legend of Zelda. We both got that one. Best action game, Wolfenstein. I got that one. Best indie was Cuphead. Neither of us got that one. Best ongoing game was Overwatch. You got that one. Best art direction was Cuphead. We both got that one. Best narrative was What Remains of Edith Finch. Neither of us got that one. And then game of the year was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We both got that. So we tied 5-5.
This has never happened.
Never happened. We always have a winner during a milkshake bet.
How many years have we been doing this?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years now. And we've come to our first tie. So
we'll be talking about that
later. My suggestion is we just roll this over. It becomes double or nothing on the next milkshake bet.
All right,
whenever that comes around. All right. So great job, great competition, Larry. I look back on some of these decisions and I'm like, why? Why would best RPG? Persona 5 is the only RPG that was nominated for a Game of the Year. Why would we have not picked it here? That was stupid on our part.
I still maintain Final Fantasy 15 was the. I'm kidding.
So, all right. Here's your notebook back. Well, my notebook that you're borrowing back. So those are just some of the results, but let's get down to the nitty gritty of some of the announcements that were made. So, you didn't watch the Game Awards, correct?
I didn't. I've had an incredibly busy week.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm going into an incredibly. I plan to eventually.
Dude, we didn't mention the one thing during What Have You Been Consuming that was the reason I didn't watch the first half of the Game Awards. The Psych movie.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about it very quickly. Let's
right.
have a little aside here.
So we went over to a friend's place to watch it. I need to disclose this to you because this affects.
Okay.
A friend who is 5 minutes away.
I understand.
Versus an hour away.
I understand. Continue.
And they had their TV down really low, so I missed a lot of dialogue.
I kept texting you jokes, and you were like, I didn't hear them say that.
And I asked them to turn it up once, and they did a little, but I felt like it would be rude to ask them again.
Just take the remote from them next time.
And also, my kids did the thing that I knew they would do if we went over to someone's house, where I was up and down a lot. So, But from what I saw of it, I enjoyed.
I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was funny. I didn't think it was good. I thought it was a really good callback to fans. It was very fan servicey. A lot of, rehashing of things that from the original series or whatever. The story sucked. The story was so rushed and jammed into the whatever hour and 20 minutes of screen time that they had for the thing. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like saying Fortnite. It's like trying to take off points for Fortnite for having a bad story. It's like Fortnite really doesn't have a story and it doesn't need one. Same thing with the Psych movie. It doesn't really need a story. We just need those jokes. We need suck it, and we got a beautiful one out of it. So,
I have this complaint as well. I feel like the off-screen relationship between James Roday and
Maggie Lawson
really affected their on-screen chemistry.
Yeah,
which is totally understandable, but it also kind of sucks.
yeah. But I do think it's something that they're planning on doing more of.
Yeah, and I got that vibe.
But I also got the feeling like they could just start doing the series again from here, and everybody would be back.
I'd love it. I was real sad about what happened with Timothy Omenson.
That was very, very sad.
Yeah.
So he had a stroke, and he made a cameo during a video call, and it was just he didn't even look like himself. Mm-hmm. So very sad. But overall, 2 hours well spent.
Yeah, and I had one last thing I was going to say. Oh, the end was really confusing for me. I felt like Sean and Gus were talking to somebody, but there's nobody in the room.
I got okay.
It was John Cena. I couldn't see.
It took me a minute. All right, let's get back to the Game Awards, Larry.
All right.
I just want to kind of quickly go over some of the announcements that we got. Let you react to whichever ones you want to. So Okay, so I watched the Game Awards, the second half of them, and I went back and I watched some of the announcement stuff from the earlier part. The Game Awards are weird to me because it lasted for almost 3 hours, and so little of it actually takes place on the Game Awards stage, and so a lot of it's videos and announcements and hype, and it's a weird feeling event, and we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit when we get to the end. But let me just cover some of the stuff that got announced during the show. First of all, Bayonetta 3 is coming. They haven't announced a release date yet, but it is going to be a Switch exclusive game, which is pretty cool.
Big deal for the Switch.
Big deal. Well, Bayonetta 2 was only on the Wii U, and because it was only on the Wii U, a lot of people thought, well, this franchise probably isn't going to make another appearance, and if it does, it's probably going to be multi-platform. So I think it's interesting because it shows Nintendo understands the context of the last 4 years of its history prior to the Switch. That it understands the Wii U was a console flop and not necessarily a software flop. Because if you look at attachment rates for games like Mario Kart or Super Smash Brothers or Mario Maker, things like that, people were buying games for it.
Yeah.
And so they're looking at their numbers and they're saying, well, people want to play stuff on Switch. Bayonetta 3, people are going to want to play. If you haven't played any of the Bayonetta series, don't fret. Bayonetta 1 and 2 coming to the console early next year. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. Next item on the list. Soul Calibur 6.
Yes!
Is going to be released in 2018. Larry, take it away.
I hate fighting games. I really don't enjoy them.
Except for Smash and Soul Calibur.
Smash doesn't count.
Smash is a fighting game.
It's a whole nother beast, though. Anyway, but yeah, Soul Calibur is the exception, and I can't even tell you why. Like, it's just a random fighting game I bought off a shelf at GameStop. Soul Calibur 2 on the cheap one day because I was bored and I was a teenager with disposable income, and I just loved it. And I've bought every Soul Calibur game since then. I like the story that is always overly dramatic and really doesn't accomplish anything. The cheesiness, like, it is... I feel like Soul Calibur is like the cheesiest, most stereotypical of Japanese fighting games in existence. And I enjoy every minute of it. And once they added in the feature where you can like make your own character and put special armor on and you can break the armor off your opponents and stuff, I thought that was awesome. And they always have like the weirdest guest appearances. Like Link showed up in Soul Calibur 2. The Apprentice from Star Wars. And
Donald
Yoda.
Trump himself.
Yes. Those guys showed up. Spawn was in one of them. It's always like console exclusive special characters. I don't know. Like, I have a blast with those games, and I never have any friends to play them with me. But you'll play this with me once, maybe.
At your house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't imagine you buying it.
No.
Not for a moment.
I've never played a Soul Calibur game. I don't like fighting games at all. And this doesn't look like one that would appeal to me either. So,
Yeah.
But I'm glad you're excited. And I think this was kind of a surprise announcement for people.
Yeah, I did not expect to ever see another Soul Calibur game. And I don't even really know why. I guess just because it's been so long.
Yeah. Then The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild received its second DLC expansion, and it launched alongside the announcement. So they made the announcement at the Game Awards and said expansion pass holders can go download it now, and the expansion includes a motorcycle.
Did we know that it was releasing then?
Well, no, we knew another expansion was coming, and we figured, they'll announce a release date or whatever, and they did. It just so happened to be right now, which is cool. I love when companies do that, and I think okay, everybody loves Zelda. You're about to celebrate Zelda multiple times tonight. It won Best Game Direction, it won Best Action Adventure, it won Game of the Year. People are hyped about it now. We don't need to be hyped about it and then hyped about DLC that's going to release in a month or whatever. So be like, hey, download it now. It's like snowball effect, baby. Everybody's on Zelda was the talk of the town the whole night. So, next item on the list, Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves is going to launch on March 20th.
That game, I'm so excited about that game. I love pirates. I love the idea of being a pirate. Not in real life, because I'm not big on being executed, but it's just this open world pirate thing. I'm just so pumped about it.
I didn't add this into the rundown, but they also, Dreams made an appearance again, the PlayStation exclusive game, and I just felt like that, alongside the Sea of Thieves announcement, I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a great segment for games we've known about for 3 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, like, the Sea of Thieves thing, it's one of those, like, okay, like,
Yeah.
piss or get off the pot, you know? And
I'm excited, but we've been waiting for it for a while.
yeah, the hype has gotten long in the tooth.
Now, this didn't show up at the Game Awards, but I sent you the link. That controller, the Sea of Thieves controller.
Yes, the purple is becoming one of my favorite colors. I was talking to one of my employees up at work about this after you sent me that link. I was like, the purple and green combination is an underrated combination of colors.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
I agree.
Okay.
But the way they used it for that controller is just, I think it's the most gorgeous Xbox One controller that's been made yet.
I thought it was really cool. All right, next item. Death Stranding received a new 8-minute trailer. Did you watch it?
No, I did not watch the 8-minute trailer yet.
Have you seen anything about it?
Just the fetus.
Yeah, so there's the baby is no longer out in the wild. It is now in a bubble. It had Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen in it. It had blob creatures consuming everything in its pet. It was just weird. It was weird, and then there was news at PSX. Mark Cerny came out and was like, look, after you play the first couple hours of this game, this makes sense or whatever. I don't know how I feel about this game, man. Like,
Yeah.
Kojima is so celebrated, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
The Metal Gear series is, transcendent when it comes to gaming. But I have a fear that there's been so much conversation about how weird Kojima is that this may just become a caricature of himself, of like the meme that is Kojima, in a sense. I don't know if I'm saying that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it became obvious that Kojima had a strained relationship with... Who was he working for before?
With Konami.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And that they didn't always see eye to eye on things. But as we get... I'm not going to say more information about this game because I still feel like I haven't received any. But as we get more glimpses of whatever this mad scientist is piecing together in his evil lair, I'm beginning to wonder if Kojima doesn't need somebody to keep him in check. I think George Lucas is a good illustration of this. The original Star Wars trilogy, part of its greatness was he had people around him who were like, look, this isn't a good idea. You're going too far here. Like, people would shut him down. But then when he made the prequel trilogy, he was this legend. And no one would stand up. Like, no one wanted to, like, cross him. And it wasn't even a thing of Lucas was a jerk. It was just a thing of he's
George. Yeah. He is Star Wars.
Let him do whatever he wants to do. And I think that sometimes that's damaging. Sometimes the person needs to have somebody that's like, look, man, that's not a good direction to go in. And I'm kind of worried that that's what we're going to see happen with Death Stranding. Because I still, don't know what in the world I'm getting myself into if I were to play this game. And to hear, the trailer makes sense once you're a couple hours in. That's not reassuring to me.
Yeah.
The trailer should make sense on its own.
And seeing the Twitter reaction after the thing, it was like, I was seeing people tweet stuff like, if this was just a series of 10 disconnected cutscenes that are 2 hours long and there's no gameplay, I would be perfectly fine with that. And just stuff like if this thing was weird and made absolutely no sense at the end of it, it would still be a masterpiece. And I feel like there's so much prejudgment ahead of this that it's going to be above criticism when it finally comes out.
Yeah.
That people are just going to chalk up anything that's wonky or weird about it, so that's just Kojima being Kojima, and the things that they don't understand, they're just going to chalk it up to art. And look, I know I sound like I'm being negative about it. I think I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be great for PlayStation. I hope it'll be a great game. But I want us to be able to have an honest conversation about it, and I feel like we're already past the point.
Yeah.
That you can't criticize it because this is made by one of the greatest game makers ever. But I just don't think that's the way it should work.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the way Kojima would want it to work either. I don't think he just wants to be constantly patted on the back, which is why I don't have too many concerns about the game being super... I mean, I think it's going to be weird, but I think Kojima respects his art enough that he's not going to take advantage of the conversation around it.
Yeah.
To make something subpar. And honestly, what we've seen of it considering how short of a time it's been in development, has been really cool.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and then last thing, and this was the most exciting news for me out of all that, the Firewatch dev Campo Santo revealed a new project called the Valley of Gods. It's going to take place in Egypt, and I'm just super excited about it. This is one of those, like, that's all I need to know. I don't want to see anything. Didn't watch the reveal, just saw the news. Don't need to see it, because I loved Firewatch, like Campo Santo. And Firewatch was one of those games, there was so much shown about it, I'd already watched the first hour before I ever played it.
Yeah, so that makes it hard to play that first hour.
Yeah, so I'm out on news for it, but I'm in on the game. All right, so those are your big announcements from it. My question to you, Larry, and hopefully you had a little bit of time to think about this because I tried to give you a heads up on it. Does gaming need a Game Awards? Does it need to have this, like, night where we try to put this industry alongside music with the Grammys or movies with the Oscars or television with the Emmys?
Are you asking if we need awards, or are you asking if we need the awards show?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. Take it whichever way you want.
Both ways. I've heard it both ways. I think we do. I think that it's good to recognize artists for their contributions to something. People obviously they do their jobs to make a living on some level, but most people also, like, there's a reason they're doing what they're doing. They enjoy doing it. They want to accomplish something, and I think that awards can be a way to. It just reinforces, hey, you did a good job with this. This was great, and to the wider realm of people consuming whatever content it is, it's a chance to be like, look, here's some things that happened this year that maybe you didn't get in on, and you need to go revisit those. These were a big deal culturally. So yeah, I think they're important. I think they serve a purpose, and I don't think it's a situation where games are just trying to be like these other industries that have award shows. I think that maybe there was some element of that in starting them, but I don't think that's the purpose that they need to fulfill. I think they, on their own, fulfill an important purpose of positively reinforcing the creators of this content. And gaming, especially in recent years, has just moved up artistically to a level where I think it's hard to argue that games aren't on the same artistic level as movies or music at this juncture. So yeah, I think it's good, necessary.
Okay. And the reason I ask it is because watching it, I agree with you to a lot of an extent. Some people have talked about how an award show like the Game Awards kind of legitimizes gaming as an industry and kind of puts it in that pantheon of art alongside those things. And I can see that argument to an extent, but I would much rather the Game Awards be something that is more focused on exactly what you said. It's a retrospective of the year that was, and we're looking back and we're celebrating these great games, and not just the great games that everybody played, the Horizon Zero Dawn or whatever, but even those smaller awards that we didn't guess on the show because we only talk and because we only talk about the big games really on this podcast. But I think gaming's biggest problem is, and I'm not as connected with movies or music or television to know if this is similar. There's a similar issue. I think it probably connects most to movies, maybe, but this industry is built so much on hype and talking up things years in advance of them coming out. And I would love a night of being able to celebrate games and not have to be given over back into that hype, like, because it just feels like the stopgap between E3s or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we just talked about a bunch of games that were revealed and release dates that were announced and games that made a reappearance after being kind of in the background for a long time. And I feel like with gaming, I'm constantly being sold to.
Yeah.
And I understand as an industry that it's supposed to be like that to an extent, but I don't feel like when you watch the Oscars, you're getting told about this movie and that movie and this movie that's coming up. There's no award for most anticipated movie.
Yeah.
You really are just celebrating the year that was.
Music's moving in that same direction, and I'm kind of like the most recent music awards show, Taylor Swift premieres one of her videos, kind of deal. And I agree with you. Like, let's just celebrate. Let's stop looking forward to a moment. Let's stop capitalizing on an audience to advertise to, and just celebrate what happened. I'm with you there.
Yeah. And then, so I did want to discuss this. So there's a game coming out called A Way Out. It's about two guys, I think, getting out of prison, basically, like escaping prison. But it's being made by a guy named Joseph Ferris, who was interviewed by Jeff Keighley ahead of the trailer for his game A Way Out. And he got on there and he appeared under the influence of some sort of substance.
Quite. That's why I keep doing this to you on the podcast. He was doing that classic drunk guy.
Yeah, I got to constantly touch
to me, man. Listen, man.
But the thing is, I don't want to speculate on any of that.
Oh, yeah.
But I do feel it came across like that. But he bashed the Oscars. He talked about EA in this like weird, well, they're publishing my game, but they really messed up Battlefront 2, and it immediately became a meme. I even tweeted about it because like just following that, they gave away the award for best performance, and I tweeted best performance goes to Joseph Ferris with a picture of him and Jeff Keighley looking awkward. But in the moment, it felt so disjointed from what Keighley, I think, was trying to build throughout the rest of the show. Like, there have been awards in the past. There have been video game awards in the past where they kind of do those kitschy like sketches, and like there's been some awkward rap performances, and it's just been a lot of weirdness. And then like this year, I think so. I don't know the meme very well, but apparently Jeff Keighley is sometimes referred to as the Doritos Pope. And Doritos approached him and offered him money to wear the Doritos Pope costume during the video game awards, and he turned down the money for it. And I respect that. I think Keighley is trying to build something legitimate with the video game awards. But then you have something like that interview, that I think was just indicative of the stigma that surrounds gaming from people outside of it. Because what you want to do with the Video Game Awards is, yes, you want to celebrate amongst the industry things that are good, but you also want to draw attention to the industry, and you want that attention to be positive. But gamers are mostly known for playing online and insulting other people, and just being relatively unhinged in a lot of ways. And that's how that came across.
And being a very isolationist culture, the whole F the Oscars start, like... It's kind of this coping mechanism where there for a long time being a gamer, like you were an outcast. Like kids these days don't recognize how it used to be. Like being a geek it was not a cool thing at one point. Mm-hmm. But now that it kind of is and kind of is legitimate, like a lot of gamers, it reminds me of the gatekeeping subreddit, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, you're not a real gamer, and you can't be involved in our culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is a lot of how that interview came across.
Salty as Chuck says, Jeff was so caught off guard and upset, but I feel like he embraced that. It's going to be the most talked about thing at the show. It is, but... And I get it, like, all press is good press, but to an extent, like, when you stand back and you look, and it's like, this dude who seemed intoxicated or under the influence of something is going and giving this unhinged rant about God knows what for what felt like an hour, honestly, watching it live. Like, and I feel like it felt like that for Jeff Keighley too.
You could see him just please stop,
and constantly trying to get to the trailer and move. Okay, tell him about the release date. like all that sort of stuff. And okay, it's being talked about, but is it what you want the conversation to be about?
Especially when if you do want that legitimacy. The Oscars is not going to get you that legitimacy.
Exactly. Because you know what the Oscars doesn't care about? The video game awards.
Yeah.
The people in that industry, it's far surpassed gaming. I mean, and it's been around 90, 100 years longer or whatever. But, I don't know. It felt out of place. It felt disjointed. But it also felt like a screeching halt back to, oh gosh, that's a step backwards.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. He also says, Salty as Chuck also said, I also feel like the sample size of the VGAs was extremely small. Most of the games that I saw in there, I didn't see many people playing them on Twitch. A one-off maybe, but that's it. Nothing that was really hyped up talked about except the already huge games Horizon and Zelda and the like. I don't know. I mean, I agree to an extent, but I do think like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice got a lot of attention, winning Best Performance over people who were in Horizon Zero Dawn, in Uncharted, in Wolfenstein, like in these huge games. What Remains of Edith Finch winning the Best Narrative Award. Like, I do think it called attention to a lot of those kind of smaller games, and I think what happens for people like us who listen to podcasts and play a lot of different stuff that comes out is we put all those on the same level, because when we talk about releases of the week, we talk about What Remains of Edith Finch about the same we talk about Horizon the week it comes out or whatever. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it does a good job of celebrating games and giving kind of a diverse glimpse of it. So, but also, you have to imagine a lot of those commercials and announcement videos are paid advertising, and the bigger games are going to have bigger budgets to come and pay for that space. So,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else to say about the Video Game Awards, Larry?
Nope.
All right, we got plenty more to move on to. Let's move on to the news.
News with the podcast, guys. We're 50 minutes in, by the way.
What's up? All right. It's okay. Most of these are going to be quick hitters anyway. First item on the list. This is all stuff from PSX, and you're going to notice a common thread among all of this PSX news. But the God of War on PS4 will take 25 to 35 hours to complete. This is from Alex Newhouse over at GameSpot. It says, the upcoming God of War game for PS4 aims to be quite a bit different from the previous entries in the series. As opposed to Greek gods, it takes Kratos to a land dominated by Nordic gods and monsters. Well, I always hate this little pop-up here. It's also meant to be a more intimate story about Kratos and his son, as the developer revealed today during the PSX 2017 opening presentation. The game is also going to be much longer than its predecessor. Creative director Cory Barlog announced on stage that the game will take about 25 to 35 hours to complete. This would make it significantly longer than the mainline entries in the series. For comparison, all three core God of War games average around 10 hours to beat. So basically, Larry, the new God of War is going to be the previous three rolled into one in terms of length. Thoughts on that?
Wow. Better not hear any complaints about spending $60 on this game.
Yeah. I struggle with it because, I mean, I think God of War is still kind of an enigma as far as like what this reboot is going to look like. Mm-hmm. I don't think people quite understand everything that's going to be different about it. I don't. It does look a lot more Uncharted-esque or The Last of Us-esque. But even those games are like 15 hours long when you play them, 15 to 20. Like, I'm really interested to see, because like the gameplay of the original God of Wars, I mean, the puzzles were interesting, the combat was fun, and you felt like a Greek god while you were fighting or whatever. I think it can get a little old after being that long, and hopefully it doesn't suffer from that, but I thought that was interesting. Next item on the list. Sony executive hints that we will be able to change usernames within a year. This is also over at GameSpot. This one was written by our boy, Eddie. Tonight at the PlayStation Experience, PlayStation boss Sean Layden gave a glimmer of hope that PlayStation users may finally be able to change their PSN names. In an interview following the PSX keynote, Layden started off by joking, quote, "The elves at the North Pole have been working on it," end quote. He went on to say that the ability to change your username is more complex than you think when it comes to what has to happen behind the scenes from a technical standpoint. All that being said, Layden said he hopes Sony will give the players the ability to change their PSN names by PSX 2018. Quote, "I hope we'll see events occur that you won't have to ask me that question next PSX," end quote. I'll believe it when I see it. And that doesn't sound very announcement-like. It sounds more like, we're working on it, and hopefully we can have it all done in the next year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've been able to do it on Xbox for forever. Like, and I understand it's two totally different infrastructures and architectures, like, but just figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what you're paid to do. Just figure it out.
It's obviously not an impossible puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
It's just not a high priority one, apparently.
Some quick hitter PSVR news. The Last Guardian will come to PSVR soon with a demo coming on the 12th. And a new tactical shooter called Firewall 0 Hour is coming to PSVR. Looks very, very similar to Rainbow Six Siege.
I think, for me, the biggest news here is that there was news here.
That they talked about the PSVR?
Yeah, like I'm genuinely shocked. I think I talked just a few weeks ago about how I was pretty sure support for this was dead and we were going to see it quietly phased out. So I think it's cool to see something coming for it. Is there any indication of how big of a project we're expecting out of either of these games? Like, is this another short jaunt into VR, or are we getting a full game here?
No, this seems like a full game from what I saw of it. I mean, we've gotten Farpoint VR, which was a fully realized like first-person shooter. We got Doom VR, another fully realized first-person shooter. So
Actually, didn't know about that one.
So I do think Firewall Zero Hour is going to be a little more on the lines of a game and not just an experience. So, but really, the biggest thing for me is that this is really the only news that came out of PSX. And so I wanted to talk just for a minute about, do we need PSX? So Sony tried to, I guess, space their announcements out. So obviously E3, they weren't at Gamescom. They had some presence at Tokyo Game Show, but really their big stuff, like where we saw the Last of Us 2 trailer that was controversial, like that was at Paris Games Week. And so I think a lot of people, a lot of the reaction for both people that went to PSX and for people who, like me, stayed home and were watching announcements come in, was that it was a little bit of a disappointment in terms of news, especially compared to last year where there was a big keynote. That's when The Last of Us 2 Part 2 was announced. Like, there was big news at the event itself. Like the God of War stuff, they didn't even announce a release date for it, even though it's supposed to come out next year. Like, this is an event that's designed for the most hardcore PlayStation fans, and you didn't serve them information because you spent it all at Paris Games Week or, these other places.
Yeah.
The Game Awards had more news about PlayStation than PlayStation's own event did.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's disappointing.
Yeah. It seems like, so they've got a decision to make. Are we going to try to be in the news cycle as these other people are in the news cycles at these other events, or are we going to make our event something worth viewing? I don't think they can. I mean, they can continue to do both, but I think it's a waste of time to continue to do both.
Yeah, and the funny thing is this time last year, the conversation was, will Xbox emulate this experience? You go and you set up shop somewhere, you have a big keynote, give a bunch of there's some big announcements thrown in there, but then there's a lot of these little announcements that really appeal to your core hardcore fan base, like Ni no Kuni 2, that sort of stuff. And now this year it's like, this may not be the thing of the future that people are going to do,
Yeah.
So pretty disappointing, especially when you expect people to pay and make an event out of it. And I understand a lot of it's to come and try out games that haven't been released yet, but I do think it's good to throw your fans a bone a little bit, because most of the people going to PSX aren't the people who are going to be able to get into the press conferences at E3.
Yeah. And
they aren't going to fly to Paris for Paris Games Week. All right, next item on the list. Bethesda launched a campaign during the Game Awards to quote-unquote save single-player games. This is from Eddie over at GameSpot. It says, tonight at the Game Awards, Bethesda released a trailer for something new. Not a game, but something more unique. The video stars Wonder Woman actress Linda Carter calling on gamers to save the single-player gamer. Unlike many big-name publishers, Bethesda's games are often focused on single-player. With the games as service model growing in popularity, Bethesda stands out and has enjoyed some success in this department, with Fallout 4 passing Skyrim to become Bethesda's best-selling game ever. It hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows, however, as Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, didn't get off to the hottest start. Along with this, some of Bethesda's single-player games, Doom, Fallout 4, Wolfenstein 2, are marked down by as much as 50% this weekend digitally, yada yada. Additionally, Bethesda is donating $100,000 to the Entertainment Software Association Foundation, which is a group that gives scholarships to help women and minorities going after degrees in the field of games arts. Bethesda said today that it doesn't plan to stop making single-player games, which shouldn't surprise anyone. What do you think, Larry?
I don't know how necessary this campaign is. I don't know. I feel like the best way to save single player is to make single player games, which Bethesda's going to do. So, a neat marketing tactic to appeal to those who love single player games, but I don't view this campaign as really doing a whole lot to change anything.
You're just kicking EA while they're down. And I mean, like you said, it's a marketing move. And I think it's a good marketing move to show, because the conversation is, well, this is what all developers are going to do, all publishers are going to do. And, Bethesda coming out and saying, no, we don't have a game as a service, and we don't plan on it, really. We're going to keep doing the we're going to keep doing single player, not that they don't have games as a service plan.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, they've got Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, yeah. So they have one.
They've got one, but their focus is still going to be single player.
And I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Way to reassure us. Thank you. All right. And then last item on the list, Ubisoft has delayed Far Cry 5, The Crew 2, and another unannounced project. We don't really need to dwell a whole lot here. Far Cry 5's new release date is going to be March 27th as opposed to February 27th. The Crew 2's release has been moved from March 16th to the first half of fiscal 2018 to 2019, which means between April 2018 and September 2018. And then one other Ubisoft franchise, which has not yet been revealed, has been moved to its fiscal 2019-2020 year. All just a strategic move to help better the quality of the games. So,
yeah.
Nothing to see there, just interesting. I've never seen a publisher come out and just say, hey, we're pushing back at everything. Yeah. So, all right. That's it.
We're done?
Now we move on to everybody's favorite segment, the random question of the week for the month for this week. Larry.
What?
'Tis the time of year, filled with laughter, filled with cheer. Christmas, as the children are calling it these days. My question to you, Larry, is what are your family traditions that you have developed in your adult life? I believe we've talked about our growing up childhood traditions in Christmas, but now you've got a family.
Yeah.
I don't have children, but I have a wife. How do you guys celebrate Christmas differently than you did growing up?
I think you're going to be disappointed by my answer here.
Because you don't.
It's still largely dominated by what our families did.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that's changed is now I have to take into account her family's traditions. And so we do things at her mom's house and my mom's house on Christmas. It's the same sorts of things. So we're still trying to carve out what is our family's thing. And so I guess we open gifts before we actually go into West Virginia, our gifts for each other. And as the kids get older, I think we'll probably make some concerted effort to make sure the Christmas story is part of that celebration, some kind of tradition there. I guess putting the tree up, that's a Christmas tradition.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't necessarily have to be Christmas Day related, but just the things that you do to get into the Christmas spirit. Because you're not around your family until day before, whatever.
So we put up the tree and watch Elf and drink eggnog and wear hats. Christmassy hats.
Christmassy hats.
Santa Claus hats.
Big 10-gallon hats with a Christmas tree hiding underneath it.
Yep. But that's all I got.
So we do the same thing, putting up the Christmas tree. We watch Elf while we do that. We don't drink eggnog because Lauren doesn't like eggnog. I do. And then... So every year after Thanksgiving, we go to a Christmas tree farm with Lauren's family, and I cut down my own Christmas tree with an axe. And by that, I mean I point to the tree, and a man with a chainsaw comes and cuts it down for me. Maybe the manliest thing I do all year. I pick a tree. Then we strap it down comically to the roof of my Sentra with the string that the other members of her family's trees are wrapped up in, and we drive 70 miles an hour down the highway with a tree on top of my car. Me terrified the entire way.
Yes.
So the little flap for the sunroof, open that thing up, and I'm constantly monitoring the tree to make sure it's not shifting back. Lauren makes fun of me. It's horrible. Probably going to be the demise of our marriage one day. That car ride home. Then so we get home, we put the tree up, we decorate it.
No, question.
Yes.
With the tree, when you're transporting it, is the pointy top end toward the front of your car or the back of your car?
The trunk is pointing towards the hood of the car.
Okay, that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
So that the branches don't flare out within the binding.
Yeah.
You gotta let physics work for you sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's constantly fighting against us.
I like to show physics that I do what I want.
Exactly. So last year we actually started a new tradition that's going to, I think, be just the way we do Christmas from now on. But so my parents we used to do Christmas at my parents' house, but they were between houses last year. They were living with my sister. And so we volunteered to have Christmas at my house, and it worked out awesome. So I have a huge family. I've got a brother, 3 sisters. They're all married. Most of them have kids. My brother has like 40 kids at this point. And my house has like 3 areas to hang out in rather than us all like being on top of each other.
Yeah.
So we can kind of spread out, hang out. Christmas Day, we don't do Christmas Day with our families anymore because with all of my siblings having kids of their own, they do Christmas their own way. My sister lives in Arizona. She can't come in. So Christmas Day is pretty chill. We wake up, Lauren and I always handwrite a letter to each other. We don't really do gifts for each other. And then I'll just hang out and watch basketball all day, which is pretty awesome. And then this year we're doing Christmas with my family the day before and Christmas with her family the day after. So it's just days of festivities when you become an adult and you get married and the family expands.
Yeah.
It's like Thanksgiving. You got to think of it in stages. So I love this time of year, though. All the way from Halloween to the end of the year is just, there's always something to look forward to.
Yeah. This year is a little bittersweet for me because of the snow we just got. Mm-hmm. So that coupled with last week, you telling me that you only remember ever having one white Christmas has made me like acutely aware of how winter flows in Virginia as opposed to in the mountains of West Virginia. Mm-hmm. So we got a pretty big snow super early.
Yeah.
Usually we get a snow here and everything shuts down and I'm laughing at it. But this time it was pretty warranted. It was good snow.
Yeah.
We got to build a snowman and it just like this week has had me nostalgic, like thinking back to as a kid, like that was just winter for me. There was almost always snow on the ground throughout winter. But in Virginia, it's just a bleak, dead, muddy mess that's cold out.
Yeah.
So I miss the whole season being dominated by snow.
I'm glad this year is going to be, it looks like it's shaping up to be cold. Because last year it was like 65 degrees and it was awful. I was like walking in my car with Christmas presents in short sleeves.
Yeah.
And I'm not about that life. When it's December, I want it to be cold. I want it to look like all the Christmas movies I'm watching.
Yes.
So, all right, Larry, let's get out of here.
All right.
Who are you?
I'm Larry. You can find me on Twitter at LarryHuntsZombies. LarHunts Zombies.
And my name is Luke. You can find me on Twitter at TK from Antioch. We are the Player 3 Podcast over here on twitch.tv/Player3 Podcast, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, youtube.com/Player 3 Podcast. Like us, rate us, review us, do all that sort of stuff. We'll see you next week. We love you. We are the Player 3 Podcast. Player 3 Podcast! P3P.